up, Delaware Church? How's it going? You guys doing good? Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here and worshiping Jesus with us. Today's a special day, right? It's Mother's Day, right? For all the moms in the room, congrats. I don't know if you knew what you were doing. I didn't know if you knew what you're signing up yourself to when you had a kid for the first time. I know for some it's good. For some kids like me, mom and dad was like, dang, what did we do? They did not know, right? No, just joking. But God knew what he was doing when he created moms, and we appreciate that. I'm so thankful for that. But here at the Action Church, we want to be very sensitive, not only about the aspect of joy that it is on Mother's Day, but also we understand that our ladies in the room that have been wanting to be mom for a little while haven't been able to do that. They have been able to conceive, and some others have had many miscarriages and have not been able to see that gift of life come to fruition yet. Some ladies hasn't been married yet and still strive to it. But there is a joy of Mother's Day, but there's a weight that comes to it, and we want to be sensitive to both of them. For people like me who lost their mom not too long ago, Mother's Day is still a heavy day for us. So we want to celebrate moms and the gift of life and who you are and all that you do, but we also want to recognize the weight in the room. So you just know that you're not alone, that we are praying for you, that we do care. And here at the Action Church, we're not naive to the difficulties of life. This is the beautiful thing about walking life with God, is that you have difficult moments and you have beautiful moments in life. And here's the thing about both of those times, is that God is with us in the midst of it all, right? The church sometimes is really plays this naivety to the difficulties of life, and they say you gotta be joyful at all times and laugh and just have fun. And life sometimes is not fun. Life sometimes is difficult, very difficult. And days like today can have a difficult part of it. So we want to celebrate, but we want to recognize the heaviness of it. And here's the thing: God is there in both of those moments, and he carries us through both of those moments, and he's the same, and he's a God who loves, who cares, and who's carrying us through it all. So it's a beautiful day, it is an amazing day, but it's also a day that is difficult for many, and we want to recognize that. So let me pray, and then we'll go into the sermon, the last sermon of this series. Father God, we thank you so much for women, for mothers, for what you have done and what you continue to do through them. We would be incomplete, and the world would be incomplete without women, without mothers, and I just pray that we men would recognize that, would appreciate the works of your hands to the lives of your people. And I just pray that we would continue to uplift them and love on them and support them and be kind to them as they deserve. I pray that men around the world, specifically here in our context, would be gentle, would be kind, would be understanding to your daughters, Father God. So I pray that you continue to bless every single one of us. Give us a beautiful day celebrating and meditating about the things that you should be meditated about. Speak to us through your word. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. So we're in the last sermon of this series, Small Town, Big World. We have been asking the question, what does it look like to live a Christian life, to be a follower of Jesus right here in the context of Delaware, of the city that God has planted us. And we have talked about, how to live in our homes and how to live under pressure. And then we're going to summarize a little bit here for you. But today's the last sermon. Next week, we start a brand new series about Christian culture, culture Christianity. That's the word. I'm having a brain fart right there. It just farted really bad, so that's the Christian culture. How culture Christianity. Dang it, man. About how there are some things that we believe in the Bible that is not there. There are some things that Jesus didn't do and that Jesus never said, and we believe them as if it is true. So we're going to tackle those. So one of those things that we're going to talk about in one of those weeks is that, do you know that Jesus didn't heal everybody that he encountered? Not everybody who was sick or had some kind of imperfection in their body was healed by Jesus. He walked into this room with many people broken and with some physical health problems, and he go there, pick one guy, heal him, and walk out. And we were like, what? That sounds mean, doesn't it? Right? We're going to talk about that. But in the culture Christianity that we learn in the culture today, it says that Jesus heals everybody and does everything for everyone, and we're going to talk about that. So that's the kind of curious sermon series. I think it's going to be good. It has really been interesting for me as I continue to study God's Word. and crafted those sermons to teach you. So if I were you, I wouldn't miss one. It's pretty interesting. We're going to talk about some cool stuff. So we're going to go back to Jesus, to the stories of Jesus, because he's the founder of our faith, and that's who we need to focus on. But let's finish today. Today we're going to focus on the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 and 16, and we're going to talk about kingdom influence, what it means to have influence as someone who lives for Jesus. And we heard this before, and I'll say it again in a way that maybe it's different for you today, but you are salt and light in this community. And that's the topic we're going to talk about today. Don't check out, because I think I'm going to surprise you with some things that I have to say. But that's the theme for us today. You are salt and light in our community. Let me ask you this question. When you think of Delaware, what do you think Delaware is? What do you think about Delaware? Do you see Delaware City, or the place where you live? Maybe you don't live in the city, you live in the outskirts of the city. Maybe it's a little town close to Delaware. How do you see it as? It's just a place where you live? Is a place that you're passing through? Is a place that, or do you see it as a place that God sent you? What do you see it as? Because for a lot of people, Delaware is just where your house is. It's just where the kids go to school. This is where life happens for now. But pretty soon I'm going to move on from here. But what if I tell you, you are here not by an accident? What if I tell you that God has planted you just where you're at this moment? Do you know the neighborhood you're in, the job you're in, the school your kids go to, the people that you live life with? Do you know that God planted you there? You're not there by accident. A lot of us think that the life happens by accident. Not for those who believe in Jesus, who have put their lives in the hands of God. God has a plan. And nothing that God does is by accident. What if the street, the job, the gym, the kids' team that you're on, that they are on, your favorite restaurant or coffee shop here in town, your favorite store is not random. It's actually assigned by God for you. For the last 4 weeks, we have been asking, what does it look like to live as a follower of Jesus in our context, in our city? In our homes, in our workplace, when we are under pressure, we are in conflict. How does it look like to live like a follower of Jesus? And now we ask one final question. What impact is our life actually making in our community? What impact is your life, my life, and our life together as a church making in the community that God has planted us? Because if Jesus is king, then his kingdom doesn't just live in us, it flows through us. Let me say that again. If Jesus is king, his kingdom doesn't only live in us. It flows from us to those in our community. So today we're going to be exploring the words of Jesus in the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mountain, chapter 5 of Matthew, verses 13 to 16. This is what I said. Jesus is preaching, teaching to people who are sitting in the mountain, listening to him. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, shall its saltness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Jesus preaching, teaching to people who was following after him. And the first thing that Jesus does, he says this: you are salt of the earth. You're salt of the earth. Not you should be, not you will be. No, he says you are salt of the world. The identity, this is identity before any assignment, before Jesus gives any command to the people. He actually gives them an identity, tells them who they are. They are salt of the earth. Jesus is not giving a command here first. He is declaring a new reality, a reality of these people's lives. Salt in the ancient world had two very important functions. The first was preservation, slowing decay. The second one was flavor, enhancing what's already there. I mean, I grew up in Brazil in the 80s, right? And it was not a surprise when you saw someone buying meat. They didn't have refrigerator in their house, and they would put a lot of salt in it, and they'd have a clothesline, and they would hang the meat in the clothesline, right? I mean, that was just something you saw often happening in Brazil in the 80s and 90s, right? Most people didn't have refrigerators, so do you know how they preserve the meat from getting decay? They put salt, a lot of salt on it, and then you know where you put your dirty clothes? That's when you put the meat, right there. It sounds nasty, but it worked out. Listen, I ate a lot of that meat, and maybe that's why I don't have hair today, and I look a little funky, but hey, guess what? I'm still here. It still worked. Salt kept it from decaying. But it's not only about that, it's about flavor too. Brazilians love meat. We love barbecue. Barbecue is something that Brazilians love to do. You wanna gather Brazilians together, say, let's do barbecue together. Oh man, they will all come, they will flock, right? If you wanna, that's an easy way of trapping Brazilians. If you wanna trap a Brazilians, offer some meat, a barbecue, they'll be there. Right? So, but you know, in America, we put a lot of seasoning in the meat. We put a lot of different things. In Brazil, you know what we put on the meat? Salt. That's it. There is nothing more. It's just meat and salt and charcoal, because, you know, gas is for rich people. Back there, we don't have no gas, so we got some wood, some charcoal, and that's how we do it. It enhances the flavor. Salt enhances the flavor of the meat. But there is something deeper here. Salt was also connected to God's relationship with his people in the Old Testament. Salt wasn't just about the preservation of decay or flavor enhancement of a specific item. No, it has to do with the relationship between God and his people. In Leviticus chapter 2, verses 13, we read this: "You shall season all your grains offerings with salt. You shall not let the salt of the covenant with your God be missing from your grain offering. With all your offerings you shall offer salt." Every time someone brought an offering to God in the Old Testament, salt had to be included. Why? Because salt represented something very important to them, very special. It represented faithfulness. It represented loyalty. It represented something that would last forever. There's the idea of eternity to it. So it wasn't only about the preservation of the keeping from decaying and enhancing the flavor. It had to do with loyalty, with faithfulness, and endurance, enduring forever. In that culture, salt wasn't just seasoning. It was a symbol. It reminded people that of their relationship with God, is that relationship with God was something that was permanent, something that was eternal. Not temporary, but something that would last for a long, long time. He reminded them that God doesn't walk away, that God stayed faithful, that God keeps his promises. Salt reminded God's people of the faithfulness of God, of God's presence with them, and God's promises that would be fulfilled in their lives. So every offering was a reminder of the relationship with God, that their relationship with God was real. And that was something that was not going to go anywhere. It would stay there, present and permanent. And just like salt was present in every offering, Jesus now in Matthew is saying, you are meant to be present in everyday life in the same way. Well, what Jesus was saying is like, you know how God is present and permanent in your life? You ought to be present and permanent at the places that God has called you. You are salt of the earth. You know where you're at, planet Earth. You ought to be present and permanent on earth as God is in your life. So, which means when Jesus says you are the salt of the earth, he's not just saying go make things better. Jesus is actually saying you and I, we are people who carry the faithfulness of God into a world that forgets who God is. You are to be present in the world to remind the world of who God is. That's what it means to be salt. And this has huge implication. Huge implication. Because you were placed here in Delaware to slow down the brokenness that we see all around. To bring out what is good. In a culture that is drifting immorality, we are to preserve truth with grace. environments full of negativity, we are to preserve peace. In relationships breaking down, we are to preserve and to bring unity. When you keep your word, you show up consistently in your relationships, in your workplace. When you stay steady, when others are not, you're not just being a good person. You are showing people the character of God. You're showing people what God is like. You are representing God in that location. And this is not a loud influence. This is a quiet, consistent, resistant presence that keeps decay from happening. And then Jesus goes on and says, if salt loses its taste, right? Salt loses impact when it blends in too much. See, here's one thing about, I love American barbecue. I'm not picking on it. It's all great. It's great. I love it. But when you put salt with all kind of different seasoning, salt loses its taste, loses its effect. It's just no longer what it was once was. You know what it becomes? It becomes indistinguishable. Oh, you didn't react to that word. That was a good job, right? I mean, are you kidding me? Indistinguishable? Are you serious? You guys gotta know how much work I put on that word this week. That was a lot of work I was like, salt, Christians say this all the time, you gotta be different, we gotta be holy. You know, it's all these crappy words, we use it all the time, it's like, if you hear holy and different, and you're like, whatever, I know. So I was like, I gotta find a different word. So I go to dictionary.com, because dictionary.com is where it is. So I was like, give me a different word, right? And then they have the cinemas or whatever the word is. Yeah, I didn't practice that word, but that's the word. And then I found the word indistinguishable. And I know, yeah. All right, I got you. And then, no, you got to hear to this. So then I was like, dang it, that's a big word. I cannot say that word. They're going to make so much fun of me. So you play the little, the little speaker thing. You play it and they say, indistinguishable. It was in a lady's voice. And I was like, dang it, I need a guy's voice for this. A tough guy's voice. And then so I said it, indistinguishable. So I practiced. That had been 3 weeks, almost 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know when I wrote this sermon. I practice. So I put it even on my phone. Sometimes we say reminder, and then I would repeat it. Indistinguishable. Here you go. That's a lot of work just to bring that word over here. All right? You're welcome. And I hope you appreciate your pastor a little better this time. No, I'm joking. The reason why I need a different word, because I need you to grab that word. Salt loses influence, its importance, when it's indistinguishable. When it's not different. Chemically, pure salt doesn't lose its saltness. But in that region, salt was often mixed with impurities. When exposed, it could become diluted and ineffective. We all know this. Put salt and water together, salt loses its power. So Jesus is warning against compromise through assimilation. Not rebellion against culture. Christians don't rebel against anything. I'm tired of hearing people say, in the church you got to rebel against culture. That's not good, not biblical. But we cannot be absorbed by culture either. We need to be indistinguishable in our culture. When we are exposed, people should be able to distinguish between us and them. These also have huge implications for us in the 21st century. We live no differently than the culture that we live in today. And when we do this, we lose influence. A lot of followers of Jesus are living undistinguishable lives in the culture that we live today. And because of that, we're losing influence. We don't lose influence when people disagree with us. That's so dumb that we're trying to fight people who disagree. No, we lose influence when people can tell the difference between us and them. They're the ones who divide. I read it last week, Romans 12. We are called to live in peace with people. Christians are indistinguishable from people in the world because people in the world, they fight, they disunite. Christians unite and they live in peace. The danger is not persecution. The dangers of the Christian life in the world that we live today is this big word, indistinguishability. Write it down and put it there. Pastor Sam worked a lot on this word. I got to memorize it. Jesus goes on and says, you are the light of the world. It's not only about being salt, it is about being light. Listen, listen, listen. I have never seen light fight darkness. Have you ever seen light fighting darkness? Have you walking in a room and turn the light on and you saw, it doesn't happen. You turn light on, darkness goes away. It simply shows up and darkness leaves. So let's slow down here for a second because it is bigger than you think it sounds. And this is amazing language in the Old Testament and in the Bible in general. Do you know that God in the Old Testament is described as light? I need you to get these. Psalm 27, we read this. The Lord is my light and my salvation. So the psalmist says that God is light and his salvation. And then Jesus comes along on John chapter 8, verses 12, and Jesus says this, I am the light of the world. So God is light, Jesus is light, and then what happened right here? Jesus looked at you and I, his disciple, and said, you are light of the world. Do you see the progression? God is light, Jesus is light, and now Jesus looks at ordinary people, not special people, not perfect people, not people who got it all together, not people who speaks good English. No, he looks at ordinary people, and he looked at us and he says, you are light. That means this is not something you produce on your own. This is something that you carry. This you reflect light. Just like the moon doesn't create light, it reflects the sun. You and I, we don't create light. We reflect the light that is in us. Your life reflects the presence of Jesus in you. You're not the source of light. That should change how we think about how influence is like, what our influence should be about. Because light doesn't argue with darkness. Light doesn't negotiate with darkness. Light doesn't try to overpower light. Light simply reveals what is real, reveals the truth of what is there. The moment light showed up, darkness has to leave. We all have experienced this, and I have said this many times. I was just talking about this the other day. I went on a trip, came back, and I leave my I think I told this here, right in the pulpit. I was talking. I got my little suitcase, and instead of putting the clothes away, who likes to take put your clothes away? Nobody likes to do that. So I put it there on the side of the bed, and then I open up because there was some clean clothes there still. So I said, why open the drawer? You can just grab it from the suitcase in the floor, right? That's smart. Right? At least that's what I thought. So then you wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. I do that once in a while, just so you know. I know it's too much information, but it happens, right? So when you wake up in the middle of the night, what do? You trip, you kick the darn thing. You step on the thing. And then what happened? Then you fall. And then you're mad in the middle of the night because your heart's beating. And now you can't fall asleep again because you're mad at the suitcase. And the suitcase has nothing to do with it. You know what had to do with it? Darkness had to do with it. Why? Because darkness hide the reality of what is there. Darkness always hide the reality of what is there. But you turn on the light, what happened? Truth shows up. The reality shows up. But light doesn't ask, excuse me, darkness, let me get in here. No, it just turns it on and shows up. Light simply reveals what is real, what is truth. The moment light shows up, darkness has to flee. So your life, if it's connected to Jesus, should begin to expose what is broken. It does. But it doesn't by condemning people. It illuminates what is good, brings clarity, and brings hope. It doesn't go on judging and condemning people. It brings clarity to it, and it brings hope to it, pointing people toward the truth with love and with consistency. Light doesn't fight. Light reveals. And then Jesus goes on and says, you're a city on a hill. I mean, that is, I think, is understandable. It's something that is visible, noticeable, not hidden. In Jesus' time, cities were often built on the top of a hill, elevated from on the ground, right? At night, when lamps were lit up, you could see the town from far away. It was not something you could miss. You could like, oh, that's a town. That's another town. Oh, that's another town. It was noticeable. They couldn't see it. You didn't have to look hard. You didn't have to search it. It was obvious. So what was Jesus saying? He said, your life is not meant to be blending completely. It's not to be loud, not to be aggressive, but it's to be clear, noticeable, seen. People are supposed to see it. And he goes on and says, let your light shine. The word shine here is the word lampo, means to radiate, to make it visible. This word carries the idea of something that naturally shines outward, not forced, not fake, not performative. It's not about attention. It's not about platform. It's not about image. It is about presence. That's what the word means, to be present. Let your presence be known. That's what Jesus is saying. Like, let people see who you are, what you're all about. This is not about spotlight Christianity. This is about everyday life visibility. It is how you talk to people, respond when you're under pressure, treat those who can't give you anything in return, anything back. When you handle inconvenience in your life, how you show up when things are hard. Listen, we don't shine to be seen. That's not what Jesus is saying. If you are truly living for Jesus, you will be seen no matter what. It's not about the platform or the shine. It's about the fact that if you're living for Jesus, you'll be noticeable like that way. Listen, there is nothing like being a pastor. It's a terrible thing. You think it's a great thing being a pastor. It's a terrible thing. Last week, is that a joke? I'm joking. You can laugh for a second because Jesus is going to be spanking me when I'm saying stuff like that. He's like, oh, you think that was a bad thing, right? Okay, let's get him a spanking. So I don't want to get it spanked. So I said, Jesus, I was laughing. They didn't get it. It's not my problem. I preached last week about conflict and about being peaceful. And be careful with what you say when you say in a reaction. What do you think happened to me this week? And then I got to preach to you that I got to be light and salt on planet Earth. And what do you think before I preached this, what happened? Do you know what happened? I'm at Kroger's at the emergency line. I know you can't park there, right? I dropped someone in my family there. I was waiting for the person to come back. She's very slow when she goes to Kroger's. Her name is Laura. She's very slow. You can't open the Kroger door. She stays there forever. And I don't know why women like Kroger so much. I'm just joking. I'm joking. But we had to go in there to grab something fast. And so I stopped at the line. It's like, it's going to be, a couple of minutes. She's just going to run in and out. So Laura jumped out of the car, and me and Anna's in the car. And I go in there, and this guy comes right beside. Laura just left the car. I didn't even have time to move. This guy come in, it's like, you mother effer, get out of the lane, the emergency lane or the fire truck lane. Are you serious? Have that ever happened to you? I was like, okay, let's do this. I opened the door, and I stepped out. I was like, what did you say, sir? And he's like, get the F out of there. I was like, come and get me. Come on. And I'm like, I'm in Kroger's right here, man. I don't seem to learn my lesson. Do I? A few months back, I just told you how I had an altercation with someone in the parking lot of a hospital. And yeah, I was going to visit a friend, and parking lots are my weakness. Again, I was like, and then as soon as you look around, there's people, and you're like, I'm a pastor of the church right across the street. I can't be doing this. Jesus is saying that they may see your good works. Let me tell you, that was not good works. Jesus was probably looking from down above. It's like, oh, Sam Rosa, you're so messed up. You definitely got a spanking now, It is interesting how God doesn't only call you to learn, He calls you to apply it in your life. And there's a moment like that you realize, listen, I don't got it all together, but I know what I'm supposed to be and to act, and I must strive to be and to do that. Because that's what Jesus is saying. You're the light, you're salt and you're light. People will see it, people will read it too. They will know, you gotta be indistinguishable. You can't be fighting on the streets like the world does. You gotta be different. And it doesn't start with you, it starts with me. I'm being honest with you. Because Jesus is saying, listen, when they see, they gotta see the good works in you. Not just what you say. This is what about you do. Your life becomes evidence. And the phrase good works here doesn't just mean doing the right thing. It means something deeper than that. It means something beautiful, compelling, attractive to others. Not flashy, but meaningful enough that people noticed. Not perfect, but consistent enough that people trust it. Your life should make people say, there's something different about that person. I can't ignore it. Not because you have been doing evil and yelling at people in the parking lot, but because you're loving and kind and peaceful. And then Jesus goes on and says, giving glory to the Father. This is the goal. Not to look at me how good I am or how bad I am. It's nothing to do about how good or bad I am. It's about pointing people to God or not pointing people to God. Our life is the signpost for God. It's not about pointing to you, it's about pointing to something beyond you, and His name is Jesus. And so when Jesus is saying, listen, you're the light, he has some very important things that He's trying to tell us. Light makes things visible. It reveals what's really there. Light brings warmth. Light is not just about clarity, it's about comfort too. Think about how people feel around you. When people is around you, what do they feel? Do they feel judged or do they feel safe? Do they feel tense or do they feel some peace? Your presence should feel like a relief to people, not pressure to people. Because when Jesus walked into a room, people who were far from God didn't run farther away from God. No, they leaned into Jesus. They came closer to Jesus, and He welcomed them. When your presence is among people, what do they feel? And you know what else light does? Light gives direction. Light helps people see where to go. Your life should help people take one step closer to God. And this is what I'm so passionate about. In the church, they have this mentality. There's this church mentality that says, if you give your life to Jesus, you should already be transformed, redeemed, and all these beautiful words that Christians say out there. Fine, whatever. But here's what reality is. Reality is not about final transformation. It's about one step at a time towards Jesus. My goal, your goal should never to run towards Jesus. It is to walk intentionally, methodically, full presence towards the one who saved us. It is about us joining hands together, not to run, but to walk consistently and faithfully towards God. People want you to run because they want to control us. And life with Jesus is not about control, it's about direction. Walking towards the one direction, and his name is Jesus. It doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go. The point is, are you walking towards Jesus? We have this preconceived idea of what should happen in people's lives. Let's drop them out. The outcome of people's faith is not in your hands or my hands. It's in the hands of Jesus. Our job is just to walk one step at a time with them towards the one who saved them. So what does it look like to be light in Delaware? It looks like walking into a workplace where negativity is normal and not adding to it. Being in a conversation where gossiping is being started, then you gently move things around and shift it to a more positive direction. It's being around people who are stressed out and carrying some kind of peace and affirmation and comfort there. It's being in your neighborhood and being the person people trust and being at the gym and on the sidelines in the coffee shop and not being loud and not being forceful, but being loving and kind and being different than the world that is around them. Listen, let me tell you this important statement. You don't change a room by taking it over. You change a room by bringing light into it. You don't change your workplace by dominating it, taking it over. You change it by bringing light. You don't change your relationships by yelling at people or by improving a point. You know how? By revealing the truth and bringing light into it. So when Jesus says you are the light of the world, he's not giving you pressure. He's giving you purpose. You don't have to create impact. You just have to stay connected to Jesus and carry what he's already put inside of you. What he's already placed in you and in the places that he has placed you at. So this is, see, we're not just living in Delaware. We are sent to influence Delaware. We don't need a platform. We already have one. We think influence requires microphone or following or elevated position, visibility. Jesus says, no. Influence is built in your life. Your platform is your proximity. Your platform is your proximity. You know the parent that you're sitting on the sidelines with watching your kids' ball game? That's proximity. That's your influence. That's where you should be light. You know the workplace where you're sitting in a cubby with another friend and another coworker and you work in a project together? That's your proximity. That's your influence. That's where you exercise that at. Do you know the place you serve in your community? That's proximity. Do you know the people you're serving in your community? That's proximity. Do you know the PTO that you're part of? That's your proximity. Do you know the students that you have? That's your proximity. Do you know the followers of Jesus that you're living with? That's your proximity. That's where we exercise the influence that we have. You don't need more followers. You don't need more friends. You don't need more parents around you. You don't need more organizations to be part of. You need to be present where your feet already are. What if we would know people by name? What if we create rhythm of life where we create habits and get to know people, like going to the same coffee shop at the same time every single day, or going to the gym at the same time every single day, visiting the same space so that you get to know people around it and get to know them by name and say hi to people. I go to the gym every single day at the same time. This older man, his name is Dennis. Every morning he said hi to me, I say hi to him. It's been a little while, and now every morning we have at least 10 minutes conversation. I don't even think he knows I'm a pastor, because I don't lead by, hey, I'm a pastor, right? Because every time you tell people you're a pastor, they're like, ooh. You know? I mean, we have fantastic conversations every single morning together. That's the place where you're called to influence, the place you're called to touch people's lives. What if that's the place? See, small faithfulness creates big impact. Let me say this again. Small faithfulness creates big impact. Salt works in small amounts. Light works in small spaces. We often overstate the power of big moments and understate The power of repeated small obedience. Faithfulness is relational credibility over time. What if we don't just attend Delaware? What if we blessed our town? What if we just didn't just attend here and live here and use the things here? What if we bless here? It's very possible to live in a place, to shop in a place, to exist in a place, and never actually bless the place. So maybe you're asking, what does blessing look like, Pastor Sam? It looks like bringing peace into tense spaces, serving without being recognized, encouraging instead of criticizing, giving instead of consuming, showing up when others don't, caring for places you live instead of only consuming the things in the place where you live. So let me give you like a acronym of bless here that I think would be a great framework for us to think about when we're thinking about blessing our town. Begin with prayer. God, show me who to notice this week, today. Listen, don't fix stuff. Just listen. Just be present and listen to people. Eat. Have meals with people. Invite people in your house. Go to people's house. Invite them to go to a restaurant together. Serve. Looking for friction points, places that needs to be served. And go there and make a difference by giving of yourself away. Speak, encourage, share, point people to Jesus. What if we understand influence is more about presence than power? What if we understood the influence in that way? You don't need to control your environment. You need to carry something to them. You don't change a room by taking it over. You change the room by bringing Jesus into it. People default to control because they feel powerless. The kingdom works differently, though. Jesus didn't dominate environments. He entered them with presence. God didn't shout from heaven. He stepped into humanity. So your calling is not to dominate culture or to withdraw from it, but to be present in it. Listen, people may not read the Bible, but they will read you. How you respond, how you treat people, how you handle stress, how you show up, how you handle people yelling at you in the parking lot. People are constantly asking, is this person safe? Are you consistent? Do they live what they claim? The answer is no when you're yelling at people in the parking lot. But here's the thing, your life answers those questions daily for people out there who are looking at followers of Jesus, and they're asking this question, is these people safe? Are they consistent? Are they living what they claim? And they're coming to a negative conclusion because we are not salt or light in the world. If someone follows you for a week, would they see peace, integrity, grace, consistency, gentleness? Or would they see judgment and stress and reaction and busyness and frustration? When pressures hits you, what leaks out? Because what leaks is what you're full of. Let me say this again, and this is really real for me this week. When pressure hits you, what leaks out of you? Because whatever leaks is what you're full of. So what if Delaware is not just where you live, it's actually the place that God has sent you? What if your street is your assignment? Your job is your mission field. Your relationship is an opportunity. I think we need to change our mindset. And throughout this series, we have ending these sermons with this mindset thing. The old mindset says, I live here. Matthew 5 mindset says, I'm sent here to make a difference for Jesus. In the practical level, start your day by asking God, who can I bless today? Look for one intentional movement, one intentional moment. Choose presence over distraction. Reflect Christ in small actions, in small spaces. Before you leave here today, I would love for you to identify one place this week where you will intentionally be salt and light. It might be one person, one relationship, it might be one space, it might be one moment. But I'd love for you to live here thinking about, man, I want to be salt and light. I want to reflect Jesus in this one person's life, or in this context, or my workplace, or in my kids' sport, or whatever that might be in one moment. Listen, DCC, Delaware City doesn't need any more opinions. We get them on What's Up Delaware. Delaware City doesn't need any more arguments. Delaware City doesn't need any more noise. It does need more people of peace, more people of integrity, more people of presence, more people who carry Jesus into their everyday life. That's what Delaware City needs. What if this church, Delaware Christian Church, didn't just gather on a Sunday morning, but is gathered with purpose on Monday? What if? What if the locker rooms felt different because you were there? The classroom felt different because you're there. The workplace felt different because you were there. Your neighborhood felt different because you were there. Not because you were loud, but because you were presently faithful, reflecting Jesus. I've been closing the sermon with this statement, this whole series, based on the sermon. If Jesus is king, then Delaware is not just where we live, it's where we have been sent. Let me say this again. If Jesus is king, Delaware, it's not just the place where you go to work, you go out to eat. It's not just the place where you drive your kids to school, where you hang out with your friends. If Jesus is king, Delaware is the place where you are sent to reflect Jesus to those we encounter every single day. Let's pray. Jesus, first, forgive me for my sins, for my lack of composure in the parking lot this week. Have mercy on me. Remind us all that Delaware doesn't need more